Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stigma Free Society's Facebook Live. Now, I have to pre-warn everyone, today, it's not live. Again, it's Dr. Daniel To with the Surrey School District. Today is not live because I couldn't get my awesome guest here on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So I have Dr. Adrienne Castellon here from the Trinity Western University, and I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. But she's on here with me on what day is it today? Thursday. So I'm pre-recording this, but I am monitoring the chat live. So if any of you watching have any questions, I can definitely answer your questions live. I'm with you live, but this video is not live. And again, I'm Dr. Daniel To from the Surrey School District. I'm a district principal in the Education Services Department. I work with at-risk youth, summer programs, as well as, what else do I do? Oh, mental health and wellness. Yes, that's why I'm here with our partner, the Stigma Free Society. And so, I have to remind everyone that I do represent the district when I speak. So a lot of the opinions, and actually all of the opinions, are going to be in line with the Surrey School District. And I always want to put that proviso there so everyone knows what they're watching. Now today, we are so glad to have Dr. Adrienne Castellon from the Trinity Western University. And the thing is, she's not just a professor there that I randomly met. She was my classmate when we did our doctoral program together at Simon Fraser University. And now, as you all see from my profile, I also teach a course out at Trinity Western University. I'm so glad to have my dean here on the Stigma Free Society's Facebook Live, which is not live today, program. So, Adrienne, can you maybe introduce yourself and what you do with Trinity Western University?
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how many years ago that was that we did our
Many
doctorate.
years ago.
Many years ago. Let's keep it like that.
Yeah.
So I'm the Associate Dean of the Masters of Leadership and the Masters of Educational Leadership at Trinity Western University. And that is both an administrative and faculty position. So I love my teaching. That's where I get a lot of joy. And of course, the administration is important to do. And I usually love it. And there's also challenges with it sometimes, but we have a good program that I'm happy to be involved with on both levels. So that's what I do, administration and teaching. And I've been a high school teacher, I've been an elementary school principal, I've been an education consultant. So I've been only in higher ed since 2016 full-time and 2012 part-time. So I really speak from a practitioner's point of view. It's not been that long ago, and I like to keep myself involved and connected. So I really appreciate this time to share practice and to be a part of the Surrey School District, which I really admire.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And, so today's topic, folks who are watching our Stigma Free Society / Surrey School District broadcast, is dealing with student and professor stress in post-secondary. As we know, in January, all of our grade 11 and 12 students, and I say grade 11 students because they're preparing to put together portfolios, applying for universities. Grade 11s actually start applying in the United States or in Europe now, and grade 12s, of course, are all clicking on scholarships and things like that to apply to diverse universities, one of which in BC is the Trinity Western. It's a very popular university for folks to go to, especially in the Fraser Valley. And so we're talking about stress, because in the COVID world, and even though 2016 seems like not that long ago to you and I in the field, it is, even 2020 seems like a long time ago. We've been in COVID for a while. And as we've been talking about for many broadcasts, the level of stress for folks who are learning in and working in the field of education during COVID-19, this COVID-19 pandemic has been increased and much higher. I know, having been part of Trinity Western, when this first hit, all the planning that took place to get people to learn and to teach online was huge. It was a huge process. So we're just gonna get right into it because we do only have half an hour. So from your perspective as an associate dean at a post-secondary institution, a very popular and large post-secondary institution in BC, how has it been adjusting to the COVID-19 world for you and your staff, your professors, your instructors? How's that been going? Like, what's it like?
Yeah. Well, back when it all happened in mid-March there, we had to pivot like everyone else. Our department had already offered the whole degree online since 2017, so it was less of a pivot. But nonetheless, we were now then starting to offer some of our classes synchronously online. So
Mhm.
with that comes new techniques and new processes, new technology. So we all, our online department is amazing. And
Yeah.
they put together a great program called Tone, Teaching Online Effectively. And we went through a program. They offered it again in May. And so through those two iterations, we had everybody sort of trained and skilled up. And
Yeah.
that was our first order of business. And then we quickly realized with all of the online, and everybody learned the term Zoom fatigue,
Yes.
and how we have to do team differently. We have to have our meetings differently. We had to learn about certainly all the tech, but it was more than that. It was, we were missing the connection, the conversations in the hallway, things like that. So we mitigated it by a few things that have been successful, like virtual coffee breaks, where
Yes.
you just chit chat, right? It's like, don't talk about work unless it's helpful work, like you would in a staff room. It's
Yeah.
just like a virtual staff room kind of thing. Do that regularly. When we schedule meetings, we try and have a bit of a buffer, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes, so that there can be time for body breaks. I mean, those are naturally built in when you're scheduling meetings because you're walking to them on campus or you're driving to them. But that is all gone, of course, because you can be on like 12 hours a day, from meeting to
Yeah.
meeting with minutes in between. And it's just exhausting. So we try and schedule accordingly. And then communication has been like built-in redundancies with communication. We've realized has become really important because we're all really maxed out and stressed, I guess is the word. you know, um, I'd like to just point to some research that I recently came across
Of
from the
course.
Alberta Teachers Association, and it's about compassion fatigue. And
Hmm.
it holds true for teachers in the K to 12, but also the secondary, post-secondary, higher ed arena. So the research results, the first phase of the results came out in June 2020, just after the first few months of COVID, and there was a very high incidence of compassion fatigue,
Okay.
which, if unaddressed, leads to burnout. So
Well, can you explain
this
more
is a
compassion
concern.
fatigue? Like, talk more about that. Actually,
Yeah,
it's not any of our questions, but you've brought that up,
yeah.
and we do
Yeah,
have
I
to
can
read the
certainly
staff
share
up
the
for this.
research.
Yeah.
I'll share the research
Yeah.
for your listeners as well. But the
Yeah.
definition they're using in the research refers to fatigue that is real. Like we can be satisfied in our jobs and busy and but involved and engaged and sort of in flow, and that is a happy place, right? Then we can be in a stressful place where it's less happy, and if that doesn't get addressed, then it turns to fatigue, compassion fatigue. And if that is left untreated, that can turn to depression. So it's kind of
Wow.
this spectrum of actually, they even liken it to PTSD, this compassion fatigue. So it's pretty serious, and that's why there's so much interest. Very very topical program you have today,
Yeah.
and it's really important for people. It's a few years ago it was about trying to address the stigma. Well, maybe this is helping us do that because a lot of people are having mental health issues, and now we
Yeah.
can use the words more openly. Yeah, there's a physical cost to what we're doing, and it's not just because we're sedentary. There's a mental cost to what we're doing, and there's an emotional cost to what we're doing, and that's not even to mention just the reality of like people living in the same household with kids going to school in one room, people working in other rooms, and that's based on an understanding that they have access to all that technology. So the
Right.
inequities that this has surfaced has also been
Yeah.
stressful because we notice that in our students too. Like all of a sudden, it's much more obvious who has access and who doesn't, how the internet providers are, whether they are efficient or not,
Yes.
and then just having your camera on and having people look at your house. I mean, if you don't have the option to
Yeah.
change your background, that can also be stressful too,
Oh,
because they have
totally.
a room.
Yeah. Well, they have a room that is busy in the back. Like in our situations, I'm lucky to have my wife say, "This is what your background must look like." And she arranged the whole bookcase and everything because she knows I'm broadcasting. Not every
Right.
family or even every instructor. We're not even talking about
Yes.
students, but instructors have that. We're just
Yes.
making assumptions that because you're an instructor, you're a teacher, you have X, Y, Z. Well, that's not always the case with every family, and it really has shown a
Exactly.
lot of inequities and raised the level of stress, which is I'm going to get into my next question, but I think we
Yeah.
need to have this again and explore compassion, like
Fatigue.
that
Yeah.
fatigue. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
that.
because teachers care, right? Like we
Yeah,
came to this profession because we care. It doesn't matter what level we teach, but we're giving and we're helping people. And so when we are not able to provide the level of service maybe that we can't fix everything for all of our students. It's just we
yeah,
just can't. Then that causes us sorrow, deep sorrow.
yeah.
And that's all involved in this compassion fatigue. It's
Well,
I feel it myself. I see it in my faculty, my colleagues who I really enjoy working with.
yeah,
But we're all a little stressed, and we can see it in how we react to things. We're a little bit blustery, if you
yeah.
will. A little bit less patient with each other sometimes because we're tired.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
if
human
you send me the
nature.
link to whatever research
I
you're
will.
looking at, I'll
I
include it
will.
in the chat as well as in the base, as well as on the district YouTube channel as well. But that actually will go to the second question of from your
Sure.
observation, how has dealing
Mhm.
with this stress been for students? So I'm just going to quantify this as I teach for Trinity in outside of district hours, an online course, and it's asynchronous. But
Yeah.
even with my asynchronous master's students that I teach basically at night, right? And they
Yeah.
I don't know when they're answering emails, but I answer everything at night. I know just by them asking for delays in handing in work or the
Mhm.
questions that they frame that their lives are stressful and it's affecting how they're doing an asynchronous post-secondary course leading to a
Yeah.
master's degree. So
Yeah.
for your students who are doing synchronous courses and even for those who are not, maybe can you talk about that stress
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
students from an associate dean's perspective? Because we're going to go into you as a mom of
Mhm.
a post-secondary student right after that. So
Sure, absolutely. The word that comes to mind is depersonalization. We talk so much in the BC school system about personalized learning, and that's what we're
yeah,
aiming for. And we take that to heart at Trinity, especially I think, but everywhere. Depersonalized experience in education is not happy for
yeah,
people. Community is important. A sense of belonging is important. When you're looking at little boxes on a screen, the experience is less engaging for many. So the student experience and the effects of it has led to, we've noticed, concentration problems, memory problems, reduced initiative, sometimes a sense of lethargy, even sleep disorders.
wow,
And so, yeah, we've even heard that too. And because they're on all the time, it's really hard to unwind. And some of them they're not all full-time students, right? Master's students are normally part-time students, and then they're trying to juggle lots of things. But it takes effort for the faculty to mitigate these issues by, like I said before, building redundancies in our communication and just really breathing and trying not to get frustrated by the 10th time the same question's been answered,
yeah,
asked. And reaching out personally, taking the time to have your Zoom office hours so you can just drop in, ask questions, don't feel bad about asking, that kind of thing. Really tracking the students so that if you haven't heard from somebody for a bit, you send them off a little note and you say, hey, haven't heard from you for a bit. How's it going? That kind of thing. International students and the time zones mean that we do not request them or require them to be in the synchronous classes. It's in the middle of the night, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I teach my evening classes so that it's their morning, and
Okay,
so it makes it doable for them. But there's still no requirement. So we record all the sessions and
yeah,
they can access them at their leisure and when it's possible. Like I said, it just requires a lot more intentionality and intervention. Um,
mm,
and for the grad students, we normally let them be grad students and have
yeah,
them do their thing, right? They're adults and everything else.
yeah,
It's not, but we're trying, and this is where my background in high school and learning assistant special ed has been really coming to
yeah,
the fore because I feel like I'm doing that more. I'm definitely being a learning assistant teacher again for my
Yeah,
students. This morning I was on a Zoom call with somebody in India, and I was making a study plan with her. Okay, this is
yeah,
an adult, and I
yeah,
was looking at her work schedule, and I was making out blocks of times, and I was chunking her assignments and giving her mini due dates, and that's what I used to do.
yeah,
And that's what we are able to do now, and we're willing to do to make it work for people, because it's just so overwhelming for people. And in India, they've got a lot of political
yeah.
challenges right now, very sad situations that are affecting a lot of the families, especially with the farmers. And we want to be sensitive to that. So we're trying to, that's another thing, the students are all over the world. They haven't been able to get their visas. So the political situations in many of their countries are also adversely affecting them.
Well, yeah, and in better times, I remember you and I in a course, right? And taking courses and showing up at SFU right after a long day's work teaching,
Yeah.
or you were, I think, a principal at the time or district principal. And even that, with lives that were going pretty well, where it was a
Yeah,
tiring process to go through a weekend of classes. Now,
totally.
build on top of that, the COVID-19 pandemic, and maybe an asynchronous situation, or just multiple screens all the time. And after they're on screen all day, doing whatever they're doing, they're on a screen with you or trying to do your work. It's a tiring thing when their lives may not have been 12, 13 hours of screen time before, and now it is. To look
Yeah.
at your screen one more time is sort of like, oh, another screen, another assignment, another, and you have to type out, right? So
I've taken up
definitely,
knitting
yeah, yeah.
just to do
There you go.
something else. And
Yeah,
you know how everybody was into baking bread
yeah.
and different things. Like there's just, you
Bake
got to
bread.
get away from your computer,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And do something. And some, even socializing is online, right? Because we
Yeah,
can't get together physically. So even that is a bit of an effort. But
yeah.
it's so nice to see friends and just to, share chat, just
Yeah.
regular chat and just keep connected. But
Well, speaking of family and friends, we've done
yeah.
15 minutes of you in your work. Now let's talk about
Yeah.
you as a mom. I know your daughter. We just talked about her in the pre-interview about how she's in the Faculty of Education, looking to
Mhm.
be a teacher. I think she went to Trinity, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So, from your perspective as a mom of a
Mhm.
post-secondary student, how has your daughter dealt with the change and stress of attending post-secondary in this world? Like you're planning it, but you're also
Yeah.
seeing it from her end as well. How's it going for her? I mean, I wish I could have her on here too, but I know that you
Yeah.
asked her to share. So
I
go for
did.
it.
I did. I asked her the question herself, and initially it was kind of almost exciting, like because she was able to stay in comfy clothes and
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
that. Um, but she finds there's not enough movement. She's glued to her screen like everyone else for many hours a day. Um, she did feel at first that she has more time because she can access things when she wants. So that's kind of more free flow. So her
hmm,
schedule has opened up that way. But not all people have the same online capacity as far as like even the instructional skills, especially at the beginning, right? So
yeah,
it was kind of spotty as far as, the
yeah,
experience in every class was different. The
yeah,
consistency wasn't always there. Um, she she said that staring at others all day is exhausting. Those are her
yeah,
words. She was happy that the exams were converted to papers, but with that came different stresses, right? I mean, papers take a lot longer than exams
yeah,
sometimes. So there was that was different. But she likes projects and and papers more than exams, so that was good for her. Of course, the part of the university experience is hanging out with your friends and the
yeah,
connections, going to coffee shops. This generation of students is very much into the coffee club, shop
yeah,
culture, and she's really missing that.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, she's as a prospective high school teacher looking at her practicum year next year. She's
yeah,
wondering what that's going to look like in the fall, and
yeah,
lots of anxieties. And she's still managing a couple of part-time jobs, just a few hours a week, just to have the experience. But with that comes learning about protocols at work and things like that. So to be a young adult in
yeah,
COVID has its challenges, and that's in a supportive. It's just supportive environment where we don't have any other challenges, if you will.
yeah,
But
yeah,
there's other challenges that other families I'm well aware of that have to navigate, and then being together all the time can be difficult. We get along great. It's just
yeah,
wonderful for us to be having all this time together, but it's not the same for everybody. So one thing she said she learned is that you never know what's going on for people, and people
Yes.
have put on a brave face. And as a
Mhm.
teacher, that's a really important lesson to have. And I said,
Yes.
you're gaining wisdom through
Yes.
this. So
Yes.
just integrate it into who you are as an educator, because that's an important lesson. We cannot make assumptions about our kids. They might seem okay, but we never really know. In fact, I think we should assume that most people are not okay these
Well,
days.
at Trinity, do you have, and I'm sure you can speak for some other universities as well because you guys talk. Do you have that type of support for your
Yeah.
students, making
Yeah,
that as something
wellness.
that the ones on campus, whether online, are not okay? How are you helping students deal
Yeah,
with?
wellness center has services like counseling services and online support groups and things like that. There's when we were able to be on campus, there's only a few students on campus now, like a third of them, and
Mhm.
very some classes, but very few. They had in-person services, and in first really important reasons they can still meet people for
Mhm.
those kind of
Yep.
contacts. But there's also um, like support groups, like I said, and they even have a few massage chairs,
Oh
just
wow!
because,
And
to
glad you have it. Yeah.
de-stress, and that's available to faculty too on Fridays.
Yeah. There you go.
So there you go.
When I'm
But
off
yeah,
the
there,
Olympic clock, I will drive to Trinity Western at 4:35 p.m. Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, there's definitely services. We're just trying to navigate how to provide for all the needs.
Mm.
So I think a lot of it has fallen on the faculty to be
Yeah.
that,
Okay.
to be that for the students, because they don't even want to identify it in themselves, and then
Mm.
we're all dealing with stuff too, right?
Of course.
So,
Of
but
course.
there's some things that we're learning through all of this that I think will be positive in the end, and
Oh,
and
for sure.
things like having more patience with each other, and not assuming people are okay, and taking the time, and not thinking that because we're in higher ed we don't have to do some of the things that K to 12 teachers do, and having lived in both worlds, if you will.
Yeah.
I think there's so much that higher ed faculty are now embracing, as far as it's just wonderful, actually. Yeah.
So, well, this actually leads well into sort of our final question and maybe your final thoughts. And I know you, and I know you and I are both silver lining people. I see a lot of
Yeah.
great silver linings in what has been many a difficult year. But what advice do you have for students who are applying or entering post-secondary? How is it on the whole
Yeah.
different from high school, and what adjustments can young adults make in order to thrive, regardless of COVID-19 pandemic?
Mhm.
Things likely look similar, although maybe more in person in September, depending on how the virus goes in BC. But
Yeah.
for kids who are, or young adults who are applying,
Mhm.
what advice do you have to give to them?
Yeah, certainly. I would say it's really important for you to almost interview the schools and see if they're the right fit for you, because we have great post-secondary institutions, and several of them available, to students living in the Lower Mainland. So
Mhm.
don't just pick the big ones because they're there and they've got, there's other options, and you might be better served with smaller classes and more relational situations. I myself went to SFU and I really had a great experience.
Yeah.
But teaching in a smaller post-secondary institution has given me more insight into what is possible when you're smaller.
Yep.
And so that's my first piece of advice is like, don't be like drawn by the prestige alone.
Yep.
You know yourself best, your family knows yourself. Look at all the options and
Hmm.
find something that's really going to be exciting for you to go to,
Yeah.
and not be lost in. And I think another thing is, as much as it's scary or different, to go to post-secondary after high school, take advantage of the services. Like, be assertive in that way.
Mhm.
Find out what's available to you, like writing center services.
Yep.
Those are free writing center services that anyone can access, undergraduate or graduate. And it's really nice to have the confidence of having somebody look over your work and give you some advice and coaching on that. Why not? It's free because you pay
Yeah.
for it. You
Yeah.
do pay for it as part of your
That's right.
tuition. So I think that's just one example. There's also, the health and wellness services.
Yes.
There's a gym, there's fitness classes, and there's some of them are still going with the protocols in place. So I think for your overall mental health and wellness, it's helpful to think of something like the medicine wheel, where you have the balance of the different quadrants in your life, and you really are intentional about planning your life accordingly. It's not just all about school. It's not just, you can't forget your family. You can't forget that, you might have to work as well. And that's a reality of your life. You can't forget your friends. You can't forget your spiritual health. And so all those things contribute to who you are. So to figure out what are the big rocks in your life, make sure you make time for those first, and then go from there. Yeah.
That is really important. I just had someone text me asking for help for their daughter who is in a post-secondary in BC, who's just struggling with the stress of the post-secondary course but also because COVID, can't really see your family, you're online, living away from home, and it is stressful. And I pointed this person to get their daughter, say, hey, look for the counseling services in the university and in the community, and here are some links, because the stress of post-secondary in a regular situation is already hard for students. Your daughter, in first university, I'm sure was very, very different than high school, right? And it was a stressful situation, even if mom is right there, right? And so now compound on that COVID-19, you can't do a lot of the social things. I'm sure a lot of university students are feeling maybe just their own type of fatigue, whether it's called compassion fatigue or not, but their own fatigue, and it's easier to break down into a negative mental health state because of all the things that are coming in around them.
Yeah, so I think it's important for you to surround yourself with a couple or three, at least, people that you can reach out to just connect with and feel like somebody's got your back,
Yeah. Well, actually, I told you half an hour goes by really fast. We have 3 more minutes. So, for any final thoughts on COVID-19, the pandemic, post-secondary, how to be as a mom? Any final advice to give to our viewers today?
Sure. I think one of the main things for me is recognizing that compassion fatigue is real, and it's okay for us to recognize that. We can learn from it. And try and be intentional about arranging our lives so that we can stay well, whatever that looks like, and just communicating about that. That it's not possible to do it all, and to try and block in times for ourselves and our own, like for that walk at lunchtime or getting out in the sunshine that we're seeing again, which is so nice. And I think the second thing would be not assuming that the people we work with or the people we teach or the families, that everything's hunky-dory just because they seem like it. We should almost assume the opposite. There's just a lot going on for everyone, and it takes its stress out in different ways depending on who you are. And then I think that as far as balance, trying to find that balance, and being clear about unplugging sometimes. So that we can, yes, the tools are great. Thank goodness we have them. But we can only give our best when we're at our best, right? So I think that's important. So.
Well, thank you again. I so have valued our relationship as friends and colleagues over the last since 2005. So people can count how many years that has been.
That says something about where we're at.
Elementary school when you and I met in 2005 starting our program. So I would so appreciate your time with the Society and the Surrey School District. For those of you who are watching this, if you have any questions, please you can ask it in the chat. If you have any questions for Dr. Castellon, I can pass them on to her as well, and email her. And don't forget to check out the Stigma Free Society's COVID-19 toolkit, as well as the student and parent and teacher mental health toolkits on their site. And you can check it out on our Surrey Schools mental health webpage as well. And thank you again, Adrienne, for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you all for watching. Don't forget you were watching the Stigma Free Society's Facebook Live. Don't just survive, thrive with Daniel Toe from the Surrey School District. We hope to see you again in a couple weeks. And don't forget to check out the Stigma Free Society's webpage, as well as our Surrey Schools mental health page. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for watching. Adrienne, stay on here. Don't leave yet. Okay. All right. Thank you.